Quiet and greetings. Welcome to the Aimless Adventure Podcast. Today we have a very special episode where we are going to discuss Star Wars and all manners of spoilers, theories, speculation from mild to wild, because I've got some pretty wild theories. But we've got, on Skype, we've got our lore master himself, Murph.
What's up, everyone?
Across the table from me, we got the new guy to the podcast room, Danny.
What's happening?
Hey.
We've got the bearded wonder himself, John.
Yes, sir.
And the matriarch of Fun Facts, Helen.
Hi.
And, of course, I'm Josh. So first, I think we'll go ahead and just start with our special guest and see kind of what his general thoughts and impressions were of the movie before we get into, spoiler territory. We'll just go around the table.
My general thoughts, I think I was very pleased with it. It definitely exceeded my expectations. I thought it was going to be good, but especially given that it was in Disney's hands, I thought we'd see some amazing special effects, great colors, that kind of stuff, but I didn't know if the story was going to suffer, but I was impressed. I thought it was much better than I expected.
Yeah.
I love the characters, bringing back the old characters, bringing back vehicles. The Millennium Falcon was mind-blowing to me. I loved seeing that back on the big screen. So, but I think that was definitely beyond expectations.
Yeah? Long-time Star Wars fan?
Yeah. I wouldn't say die hard, but definitely long-term. I mean, since the beginning.
Very cool. John?
I think I went in with a little bit higher expectations just because even the episodes 1 through 3 I really liked. And it would have taken a lot for them to make this movie to where I wouldn't like it. I'm just accepting of it, you know?
Right.
So, it being the continuing of the original stories that we grew up with, not the prequel, but we get to see what happens next, And it being in Disney hands, et cetera, I went in expecting the world, and I wasn't disappointed.
Very cool.
I loved it.
I mean, Disney took over all the comic book franchises that we care about, all the Marvel ones anyway, and they've done an excellent job with them. I mean, they've kind of learned how to feed the geek need, right?
They definitely fed the fanboys.
And still be entertaining for everybody else, so that's why geeks rule the world right now.
Yep.
And now Helen's a geek. What did you think of the movie?
I'm a geek. I walked in with no expectations, only because I've never seen any of them, but it was so good.
Yeah?
I loved it to the point where I've seen the 4th and 5th now.
Oh, Woo! Did you watch 4 and 5?
Yep, I did, 4 and 5.
Very good. And what'd you think of those?
Not that it was bad, but of course, it's dated.
Slower and older.
Yeah. And I like the fact that in the 4th episode that they called her Leia, Princess Leia, but they called her Leia throughout the whole thing.
I guess I never noticed that. I don't know.
Go back and watch it.
Well, it's kind of like the Millennium Falcon, right? It's the Falcon sometimes, it's the Falcon other times.
Yeah.
It's never consistent. So.
A pile of junk sometimes.
Yeah, that's more often than not, I think.
So, Murph, what were your overall impressions of the movie?
A lot. Well, I'm a longtime Star Wars fan. Star Wars is what got me into collecting comics, the old Marvel comic series. Star Wars is what got me into collecting toys. Star Wars is what got me into costuming. So I went in, I know it was a Star Wars movie. No matter what, I was going to enjoy it one way or another. It would have really had to have really super tanked for me not to enjoy it. My impressions of it, if I was to give it an overall, I enjoyed it immensely. On the other hand, I was disappointed as well.
Okay.
I enjoyed it because it was a fun movie. I was rooting through it. I was cheering. It was a lot of fun. What disappointed me was, I caught it when the movie was playing, and then now I've started to see it on other sites doing reviews. It was reused in the same story ideas, almost the exact same scenes from the original trilogy. It's like going to a restaurant, and you go to a restaurant and you order the chicken cordon bleu. And it's the best chicken cordon bleu you ever had. So the next week you go back there and you want to try their spaghetti. So you order the spaghetti because you want to try something different, and they bring you out the chicken cordon bleu. And you're like, why'd you bring me this? Because you enjoyed it last time. And I'm not talking about basic story ideas about myth telling, but the beginning, we can talk about spoilers now, hopefully, but the beginning when they have the plans or the map to find Luke Skywalker, they're attacked, they put the plans in BB-8 goes off to the desert. Leia's attacked in episode 4, puts the Death Star plans in R2. He goes into the desert. They're trying to find that droid. They had a Death Star in the first movie that destroyed planets. They have Starkiller Base that destroys a whole solar system. They had a shield around the Starkiller Base that they had to go in and they had to blow up with grenades or mines. On Endor, they had to go in and blow up the shield generator with grenades and mines and sneak in. They had a cantina in the original Star Wars. They had the cantina in this one. You had Kylo Ren is the son of Han Solo, Luke the son of Darth Vader. Kylo Ren kills Han Solo. Luke ends up killing Darth Vader indirectly. It was just, there was a lot of stuff where they reused the same story ideas, and I think they did that as a safe way. But so I wasn't really too surprised. At the same time, I enjoyed it greatly.
Can I touch on that, Murph?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, first off, I agree that it was really similar, and part of that, I think, was giving the fanboys what they like. You know, hey, we can't screw it up if we tell a very similar story. But that being said, I think that it's the same family spreading their drama throughout the galaxy, and the same bad guys. And throughout history, if a bad guy loses and stays alive and is able in a position to regroup and try again, he just does the same thing but with a bigger gun. I mean, it's history repeating itself. I wouldn't doubt that is similar to how it would play out if it were a true story.
Yeah, the wheel of time spins, ages come and pass, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Like, I guess, yeah, I can see the story parallels, because you'd have to be blind not to see them. But at the same time, I think Murph is right. I think that they were trying to play it safe and bring back the vibe of the original movies, and to do that, they had to steal some plot points. But you know what? Those same plot points were found all in the expanded universe too. So, it's one of those things. They have repeated those storylines over and over and over, and it hasn't turned anybody off of it. So
I think they took a risk. Like, I think they went this route too, because when they did the prequels, those were a much different story than the original Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And they got a lot of criticism in the prequels, especially when they tried to tell a conspiracy theory in a Star Wars way with Darth Sidious and how he took over the whole Senate and the Republic and everything. So I agree. I think they went back to something safe. They gave the fans what they wanted. They tried to take the same ingredients from the original trilogy and mix it up a little bit, but they gave you the kind of the same thing. I'm not saying it was bad. I enjoyed it, but in a way, I kind of wanted to see some things a little different, which they gave us plenty of that as well. I think the characters were wonderful, the new cast and the old cast.
I agree.
If I was to go through the old cast, Han Solo. Harrison Ford did a great job as Han Solo. At times, I felt that I was watching Indiana Jones and not Han Solo, though.
I agree.
He seemed just a tad bit more cockier than Han Solo was, but at the same time, 30 years has passed. He's older. Maybe he just doesn't give a fuck anymore, Leia, I was impressed with Carrie Fisher. I see her in these interviews, and she seems kind of whacked out. I mean, I'm sorry. She's funny and she's entertaining, but she seems whacked out. But when I saw her on the screen, she was a princess. She was older, but she was royalty, and she carried herself as such.
You think so?
Very impressive.
You think so? I felt I got a different impression from Carrie Fisher. Every time I saw her on screen, I sort of felt like she didn't give a fuck.
Gotcha.
I never saw the princess. I saw an old actress, and I don't know. I just didn't feel like she cared about the part at all. Like, and that's just impressions. And we'll get to like the last scene in the movie eventually, and how different I thought about the last scene in the movie. But yeah, it's one of those things. Now I want to ask everybody: the big controversy about this movie is whether or not Rey is Mary Sue.
Okay.
Do we all know what Mary Sue is?
No.
Mary Sue is when an author writes themselves into a part, and then that person can do no wrong, and they're excellent in everything.
Okay.
And Rey seemed on the surface to be that way. What do you guys think? Was Rey a Mary Sue?
I don't think so.
I don't know what to think about her, honestly. I'm sure that we're going to see big things to come from her, but I don't know what they are. I spent probably the first 4 hours after that movie going nuts, wondering what's going to happen with her in the future, and I don't know. I really curious if she's related to somebody, if she's maybe, kin to Luke somehow, or what the case is. I don't know, but I'm not sure what her point is yet, but I'm sure it's going to be major.
But do you feel like she was too overpowered in the movie? Do you feel like she was too good at everything?
No, because I just think that was her being a Jedi and not knowing it. I think she was just like, because there was times where like when she first takes control of the Millennium Falcon and she gets done and Finn's like, how did you do that? And she's like, I have no idea. I think that's just her, holy crap, I'm really good at everything. Why am I so good at everything?
Right.
I think that was just them showing that she's a Jedi and doesn't know it.
That's
How strong
that's actually a
the
good
Force
point.
is,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that when I saw that scene, that she was just using her innate. Well, because we knew that Luke would target womp rats or whatever, right? And had a natural ability to shoot them. But yeah, I didn't think about that part.
Anakin with the pod racing and stuff. I mean, there was no explanation for it. It was just gifted.
Yeah.
And everything she did, she was unknowingly great at it. Like when she first tries to fire at the troopers that are coming at her, and she's like, "Of course I know how to work the gun," and then she doesn't. But the instant she figures it out, she's a marksman.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it was just. I think that was them just leading into she was born into this position. She just doesn't know why or how yet.
Gotcha.
Did anybody else laugh when the guy asked Finn if he could shoot? He said, "I can use a blaster." I laughed because you might be able to use that blaster, but you ain't hitting shit.
That's true. You were a trained stormtrooper. What about you? Did you think that she was a little overpowered, a little too smart?
No.
No?
No. I think like what Danny was saying is she seemed like really surprised that she could even do it too. Like fly, everything.
Yeah.
The only thing that bothered me about her was her facial expressions. Like that the whole movie. Like, okay, put those faces away. Like, come on and act.
Better than the female lead in Twilight.
True.
At least she had an expression.
Yeah.
What about you, Murph?
I would say no, she wasn't over the top until I saw her stand up to Kylo Ren. I could accept her being an exceptional pilot. That reminds me of Luke and Anakin. Being a good blaster shot. Yeah, I never saw that with Luke or Anakin that crazy, but I could accept that as well. Her being an exceptional hand-to-hand fighter, being able to outdo someone like Finn, who had been trained to be a soldier since he was an infant. I could see that. But once she's able to withstand Kylo Ren's mind-reading, torture, extraction, and then stand up to him in a lightsaber duel, when he's trained for years, even though I still get the impression he's an apprentice, then I started to feel that she was over the top. But up until that point, I would say no. But to her to have the mental capability and the Force, not even Luke and Anakin had that, until they had trained for years.
I'm going to disagree with you for a second, Murph.
Yep.
I don't think that she was that far over the top on the lightsaber battling because Finn was a stormtrooper. I don't think a stormtrooper ever touches a lightsaber in their training.
How about that one that Finn fought against?
He kind of got his ass kicked.
First spike.
That was just an armored hand-to-hand weapon or whatever.
It was like a first spike, yeah.
A little bit different.
I mean, they had hand-to-hand training.
He was probably an elite stormtrooper, like a class that could do that. It wasn't just every stormtrooper learned that. I don't think. But Finn held his own against Kylo. And
He still got his ass kicked, though.
yeah, but still, I mean, you put any stormtrooper up against Vader,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't have even come to lightsabers hitting each other. It wouldn't been an issue.
Right.
It shouldn't have even been a fight.
Yeah, and her being slightly better than Finn doesn't mean she's overpowered. It means that Kylo is really weak.
Well, see, I don't view it that way. Like, so Kylo is really unfocused, and that's kind of why he wasn't fully on the dark side yet. So he was kind of unfocused, which I think made him weak.
Unfocused and confused.
Right. So I don't know at this point whether that's going to change a little bit. I have a feeling he's going to get stronger.
Oh, no doubt. I'm just saying, using that reference as her being overpowered, I don't think is an example because a stormtrooper held his own against Kylo as well.
Well, and I think, what was her weapon on Jakku?
A staff.
Right. So it's similar, right? Like it's still hand-to-hand combat. It's still melee basically, right? So
Not against the Sith Lord.
But no, I don't know. I just don't know.
I still think, maybe it's because she might be the next chosen one, but if I were to compare her to Luke in episode 4, she was much more proficient with a lightsaber than Luke was, even though maybe she grew up with a staff. And then, because if Luke in episode 4 would have fought against Vader, he would have got chopped to pieces. I mean, but, that's that. And then to have the mental capability to withstand his torture, he wasn't confused at that point when he had her as a prisoner. And she was able to put up the mental barriers against him when he's trained for years, not only under Luke, but possibly under Snoke as well. That made me think she was overpowered at that point.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't. I didn't feel like she was overpowered. I felt like she absorbed some of what Kylo knew, and was able to apply it really well. I guess that's kind of the way I viewed their little power struggle internally. But I didn't feel like she was a Mary Sue. She was just. I think she's probably the next chosen one, whether she's a Skywalker or a Kenobi or a Solo.
And see, that's the way I look at it too. She's just the chosen one. Like the example of him being able to, her being able to block when he's trying to get into her head. He's at that point, he doesn't know that she has anything special. He thinks he's just some girl that might have some information. He doesn't necessarily believe he's going against the Force, and she has it, and he doesn't know that. Never been trained or prepared for that. So even though he's trained, even though he's got some experience, in training against regular people. Because I mean, his teachers, whether it be Luke or anybody else, they're not going to say, "Okay, get into my head.
Right.
Come see what I have. Come see my shit." They're going to be out there going, "Okay, go get into that guy's head." So it's still something that's totally brand new for him, even if he does have a little experience with it.
That brings up an interesting point. I don't know if this has ever been touched on in the Star Wars storyline or whatever, but the mind meld, mind reading commands or whatever are normally done to weak-minded individuals. That's like what we said, we can control the minds of the weak. Well, if he went in thinking that she was the mind of the weak and went to extract information from her, what if it's like just opening a door and her force was a little bit stronger than he expected, so his door was wide open and she was able to grab information unknowingly about how he combats, etc., and that might have given her an edge in the lightsaber battle.
Not necessarily even stronger than he expected, just existing, because he wouldn't have expected it to be there at all if he just thought she was just some girl from Jakku that's just happened to stumble into some info.
What if on some level she's a sleeper agent type?
Ooh,
right?
Manchurian candidate.
Well, not
I was
even
actually thinking, what if the Skywalkers or Anakin and his line are a mistake that the Force is trying to correct? Because if you look at the Skywalker track record, you have Anakin and now you have Ben Solo have both fallen to the dark side, with Luke only being a success.
So far.
What if the Force per se has now made her the new chosen one for the galaxy, and she's actually the next, her line is going to be the next, and the Skywalker line is being put aside by the Force.
So let's transition that into who we think Rey is. Who do you think Rey is, Murph?
I don't get the feeling that she's one of the Solos. Neither Han or Leia did I get the impression that they recognized her or anything like that. I also don't get the impression. I know they kind of maybe they let Kylo Ren go or whatever, but I don't get the feeling either of those two would just abandon a little tiny girl on their daughter on a planet and say, "See ya, have fun," Vaya con Dios, I don't think that she's the child of Luke Skywalker, but I don't know enough yet. Who would the mother be? I have no idea. I'm starting to get the feeling that maybe she's a new child of the Force, for lack of a better term, the way Anakin was. But she's now she's now what the Force wanted, where Anakin wasn't. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, I mean, I sort of agree with you and I sort of disagree with you. I feel like Han and Leia knew who she was. And the evidence that I have to back that up isn't concrete, obviously. But number one, Han, as soon as he learns where she's from and what her name is, he's immediately he was kind of flippant with her at first, and as soon as she's like, "Oh, I'm Rey from Jakku," he's focused in on her. and all of a sudden he's very interested in her, up to the point of offering her a job.
Right.
Second, when they're all on Maz Kanata's, when they're at the tavern or whatever, the base there, Maz looks at Han and goes, "Who's the girl?" And Han gives her the kind of, and then the camera cuts away.
Right.
Which makes me feel like they were trying to hint that Han knew something more about her than had been said so far.
I totally agree with that.
And my final thing about Leia is that when she steps off the Millennium Falcon at the end of the movie with no introduction to Leia at all, no knowledge of who she is, Chewie is sitting there right next to her and just lost his hetero life mate, right? She walks off the Millennium Falcon and Leia immediately goes to her. No hesitation at all.
Right.
So that makes me feel like Leia knows something about her. And they send her on this super important mission to find Luke when she's this supposedly unknown character. I don't believe that. I don't feel like people that were in charge of like a rebellion or a resistance would send somebody unknown on something so important when like Leia's his fucking sister.
Right.
I could see that after she fought Kylo Ren. I mean, she'd be the perfect one instead of, say, Poe Dameron,
Oh, Poe, yeah, he's like...
Yeah, I mean, especially with her affinity with the Force, it makes sense that she'd be the one to go and find and meet Luke. But I don't know, I just did not get the feeling that Han, Chewie, Leia, they all recognized her and all three of them were keeping a secret from her, the whole time. It just doesn't feel right.
They didn't necessarily have to know her.
Mm-hmm.
They just might have known that she existed, but didn't know enough information to make the connection when she appeared.
So I think they know her by myth, not necessarily know, oh, that's her. I think hey, remember that girl we heard the stories about? This might be her, and we need to watch her and see if it is her. I don't think it's somebody that they, in fact, know. But I don't think she's related to them. I think if there's a bloodline, she's related to Luke.
That's my guess. Going by the Star Wars universe, at least episodes 4 on, like I said, it's one family spreading
It's very
their
generational.
drama.
Yeah.
And Luke was a master Jedi, not a priest. There's no reason for us to not believe that he was out there getting tail across the galaxy. So much so that he might have hooked up with a girl and tried to, okay, I'm going to settle down and have this thing with this woman. And whether or not she was born when it happened or whatever, he went into exile to protect that family. And when the mother got taken away, it's because the Empire knew that, okay, this lady was shacking up with Luke. She might know his whereabouts. Let's take her and try and get some information from her, not knowing that the child was his.
See, I think her family is definitely going to play an important role. It talks about her family being taken away from her, and that she's waiting for him to come back. But it's never specific that I noticed or heard.
She doesn't seem to understand it herself.
Right. Or if it's mother or father or everybody in the family. Is it just her father that was taken away? Just her mother? Who was taken away from her? It never talks about. And she goes back.
I don't think she ever met him. If my
I feel like it was.
I don't think she ever
and
met
she
him.
goes back to that vision where it actually shows her being pulled away from somebody important. It's assumed by me that it's her parents.
And there's also a quote, I think it's Maz, that tells her to her face, they're never coming back.
Right.
That's after she already met Han Solo, too. They're
Right.
never coming back, she tells him. Now,
The mother
I like both your theories, John and Danny. Luke, I could see that, and that kind of makes sense. I just, they haven't given us enough information on who the mother might be. But yeah, I mean, that I think was one of the weaknesses of the Jedi in the prequel, and it was also their strength. I mean, the Jedi have to be based on love, and yet they weren't allowed to love, and I think that hurt him, the Jedi Order, in the long run. But it also caused Anakin's downfall as well. I could see Luke falling in love and having a daughter, and then trying to train her at the same time, and then when Kylo but he keeps her identity secret at the school. Kylo gets all choppy on everyone, and then Luke does what was done with him. He he puts her on a desert planet that no one seems to know. No one knows who she is. She's just another orphan, which is the best camouflage in the world, unless you got Jedi hunters trying to read your midichlorians or something. Right. And then he goes into hiding. That makes sense, but I just can't figure out who the mother is. But they haven't given us enough information. But
when she's having that conversation, when they're talking about when she first finds the lightsaber, and Maz is like, she's I don't remember exactly how she words it, but she says something to the effect of what you're looking for on Jakku is never going to come back, but you can go find something else that you're looking for. So that kind of implies to me that you're not going to get that family back, but you have family that you can go get back, so you should go take this lightsaber and go find Luke because he's your family.
The way I took that was Luke was already gone. I don't believe that she ever knew Luke. The mother got taken away. That mother's never coming back because the Empire tried and tried and tried. She had no information to give. They killed her. So you can take this lightsaber and find Luke.
Yeah, I mean, as we've discussed offline, I've got kind of two theories, and yeah, they're a little bit wild, but I like them for different reasons. I like the idea that she's a Kenobi, and that the roles are reversed, where a Skywalker is now in charge of training a Kenobi as opposed to the other way around.
I can see that.
I think that the evidence to back that up is that her vision she only hears Obi-Wan talking.
Right.
She doesn't hear Luke talking, and as a matter of fact, she runs toward Luke and Vader fighting down the hallway, like as an observer. Which, if you think about it, that's kind of what Obi-Wan's Force Ghost would have been, right? Was like an observer to what was going on. So and we know that in the accepted canon for Star Wars that Disney accepts, the cartoon, Obi-Wan had a relationship with a queen of Mandaloria? What?
Mandalore.
Yeah, he had a relationship with a queen, and it's possible that they had a child.
Okay.
So that could be his child from that relationship. So I kind of like that theory, and then my super wild out of this earth theory is that...
Before you touch on that,
okay,
Obi-Wan spoke to Luke, not Anakin. So it doesn't have to be the father in your visions. Doesn't have to be the father that's talking to you from the Force Ghost or whatever. It could be Obi-Wan just said, you know what, the Skywalkers are my responsibility. Yeah. I'm going to see this out to the end.
But Anakin wasn't dead for Luke.
What if she's not the child of Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan is actually her grandfather, the same way as Anakin's the grandfather of Kylo Ren? Because, I mean, she's probably about Luke's age in Episode 4.
True.
Young 20s.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 30 years between Jedi and Episode 7. Obi-Wan would have had to conceived her, right before he got on the Death Star or something, But what if the child of Obi-Wan and the Mandalorian Queen, let's say, for sake of argument, that child was born and had another child? What if Rey is maybe the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi, where Kylo is the grandson of Darth Vader?
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a strong possibility.
Yeah.
That
would also explain them kind of telling the story over again too, because they're ultimately coming back to the same story by bloodline.
Now, the evidence against that, the most immediate evidence is that, what's the name of the lady who's the CEO of Lucasfilm?
Kathleen Kennedy?
Kathleen Kennedy has said that these movies are about the Skywalkers.
Right.
So, if she's going to be the central figure, then, it wouldn't necessarily be about the Skywalkers. I mean, you could go either way with that. But she has said these movies, unequivocally, are about the Skywalkers. So, that leads me to my next theory, which she is a Skywalker, but not necessarily Luke's...
By birth.
Not necessarily Luke's willing daughter, but maybe a secret experiment by the Emperor. And the wild theory is, in the original expanded universe, the Emperor had all these fucking secrets. And as a matter of fact, in episodes 1 through 3, he had the secrets as Palpatine, where he had the clones being made that nobody knew about until he decided to tell them once they were already well along. He'd had that secret for years. But he had all these super secret apprentices and all this other stuff. And when Disney said the expanded universe is done, it doesn't exist. It's just legend or myth at this point. It's not real. But everybody that was like a true expanded universe fan was like really upset that Mara Jade was gone, right? Well, what if Mara Jade does still exist? What if he was the Emperor's secret assassin, hit person, gopher, whatever? And, the Emperor was really good at predicting the future, so he sends Mara to collect the saber and the hand, and then they do some genetic experiments to come up with Rey.
Right.
That would technically, when they show her running down the hallway towards the fight, technically that's the last time that lightsaber's ever seen, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that would kind of imply that that's a hint to that.
Yeah, I don't think it's it's not outside of the realm of possibility. They're already cloning. In the original expanded universe, they did do cloning experiments on Jedis. Jarus Kaboth, or whatever however the hell you say his name. Do you remember that? Did you read the Thrawn trilogy?
Yeah, from Heir to the Empire.
Yeah. So he was. Yeah, he was a mad Jedi clone. So there is some argument to be made that is a possibility because he was known to be experimenting with cloning Jedi.
Right.
It's not that out there.
He also-
baby and plant, see what she does if we dump her on an island or on a desert, an uninhabited place, and see how she figures it out.
Yeah. Junkyard.
Yeah.
That would be a nice way to explain, because that's the one thing I haven't been able to figure out in my head is how did Anakin's original lightsaber get into the hands of Maz? Because, when his hand is cut off in Empire, that hand and saber goes flying down that big giant chasm there on Cloud City in Bespin. To be able to find that would be like finding a needle in a haystack, I can't really figure out in my head how the lightsaber... I know they're going to tell the story, and I know I'll like it when I hear it, but yeah, I just can't figure out how the lightsaber was recovered, though.
Yeah, wouldn't you have to assume it went down the garbage chute or whatever that Luke barely saved himself from at the last second?
Well, and if Mara had positioned herself down there, she could just...
Right.
Right?
Luke was barely able to hold on when the hatch opened up. If the lightsaber fell, hatch opened up, it goes down to the core of the gas giant planet, which, then it wouldn't be recovered. But
I've got a stupid question.
Sure.
How does a Jedi fall? If he's falling, couldn't he just force pull on the top rung, which obviously isn't going to come to him, so it would pull him to the rung?
In my mind, it's in the middle of weakness, defeat. You don't have the strength to do it at that point. That's the only thing I think.
Yeah, Jedi can't fly.
But they could force pull themselves to something static that's not moving.
or they could jump.
They could jump, but I'm not sure how the jumping thing worked. Maybe they just affected their boots or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it would probably depend on how strong they are in the Force to be able to do
if
that.
they could force lift a 2-ton rock,
Yep.
and then they force lift something that's immovable, it would have to be able to move 200 pounds of Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Good question. Logical fallacy,
Yeah.
It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson probably said something about it. Shithead.
I am very curious about that story, though, because you assume it's going to be good because they bring up the story. She tells Han that it's going to be a story for another day. So, I'm definitely very curious to hear it.
Yeah, me too.
You would assume that nobody can put their hands on that lightsaber, that it doesn't want to touch it.
Right.
So it has to be something interesting happened to get it there.
For sure.
Or Lando Calrissian went back to Bespin, was able to get it, and he gave it to Maz. Who knows? And that's how they'll introduce Lando in the next movie, hopefully.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too, yeah.
Maybe that lightsaber isn't focused and attracted to Skywalkers. Maybe it is focused and attracted to the Chosen One at any given point, and she happens to be this Chosen One. Just like Anakin was. And
Could be. Yeah. So, anybody else have any other theories on who she is?
No, that's my story.
So, Murph, you said you took a bunch of notes. What else did you have to talk about?
Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren, if I could sum him up, he was Anakin Skywalker done right.
okay.
I liked how he was young and immature, but yet he didn't come across as overly whiny as Anakin did in the prequels. He still had a seriousness about him. Something about him made you afraid of him, but he was still had those emotional outbursts that seemed a lot better than Anakin's emotional outbursts. I really liked Anakin.
I'm going to say this.
I'm not
real quick.
Anakin. I mean, Kylo Ren.
Luke was kind of a whiny bitch during his training. Too. So that's just a Jedi thing, I think.
I just wanted to go to Hashi Station to trade some power converters.
It's impossible. It's impossible because you don't believe. No, you're asking impossible.
I didn't like Kylo's tantrums. I don't know. To me, they're almost more childish.
He's a little on the emo side.
Yeah, super emo. I do dig how he looked like a cross between Anakin and Han. Like, if you look at him, his bone structure is sort of Han-ish, but his hair and kind of forehead is all fucking Anakin.
Watching Episode 4 immediately after The Force Awakens, young Han looks a lot like there's definitely could be a family resemblance.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That was good casting.
Yeah, I think so. I think it worked out
At first,
pretty well.
I thought it was, oh my god, just another stupid Anakin clone of just a goofy-looking kid with long hair. But he looks a lot like Han when he was young.
Yeah.
Captain Phasma. I wanted to see more with Captain Phasma.
Me too.
I mean, there could have been. I mean, they talked about Gwendolyn Christie from Game of Thrones being in that armor. It could have been anyone with an English accent in that armor, and you didn't see anything special about her.
And she rolled the fuck over.
Oh, yeah, they put her down the garbage chute. Another thing to episode 4.
She was just like, most stormtroopers will die for the cause that they believe in. And she was upset that, Finn wouldn't. I mean, FN 2187 or what the hell his name was. But, like, she was upset that he wouldn't kill those people. And then, like, he's like, he holds a gun to her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll take the shields down, no problem. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that.
That'll kill everyone here. I'll do that. Yeah, no problem."
Yeah, I mean, I'm the only one that knows how to do it, so no, I'll go ahead and take care of it for you.
My theory on that is, I think she's had questions for a while, and then she sees a stormtrooper kind of question everything, and it kind of gives her, you know what? I'm kind of done with this too. And, he pulled a gun on me. That's all. He had a gun on me. I had to do it, It was her excuse to turn or remove herself from the Empire or whatever the case may be.
You think she'll turn?
I think so. I don't know that she'll turn into a good guy, but I think she's done with the Empire.
She kind of has to be.
Yeah.
Somebody at some point has to figure out that the one and only person that knows how to turn off the shields turned off the shields.
But yeah, I think we'll see her in a semi-good guy role. Maybe like a Lando kind of just neutral, but helping the good guys a little bit.
Maybe she becomes a bounty hunter.
Maybe.
That was an action that could lead to a terminal offense that she did. So
she doesn't necessarily want to be a good guy, but she can't stay because she'll die.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're bringing her back for a bigger role in Episode 8, and it's like, what is that role going to be? Because I'm sorry, it's still a stretch that she made it. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how she was in a trash compactor and made it off that planet, but,
Maybe she had an R2 unit that turned it off right at the exact last moment.
C-3PO! C-3PO!
That's probably one of those things they won't explain. It'll just
be
what it is.
Universe. It is.
So what else you got, Murph?
Finn, FN 2187. I liked him in some ways. He reminded me of the voice of the audience. Because, I mean, if there was a planet-sized weapon that was coming towards me with a innumerable army and some dark Jedi, I'd want to get the fuck out of there, too.
Yeah.
So in a way, maybe he was the voice of the audience, but I forget the actor's name, but I think they
John
played
Boyega
that really well. I would have liked to have seen his training, like we touched on earlier, come more into effect as, just as a soldier, but I think he was pretty good. So I did enjoy his performance.
Yeah, I think the voice of an audience is a good way to put it, because the nice thing about Finn is that we get to learn who he is as he learns who he is, right? Because, like, he doesn't really know who he is right now. And I don't mean, like, in the literal sense. I mean in the, like, spiritual sense. He doesn't know who he is. So we get to, like...
everyone else either.
Yeah, we get to, like, learn with him, like, who he is and how he'll react to situations. So he can still surprise us without going out of character, because who knows?
I definitely really liked him, his character and everything. One of my favorite characters in the movie. And Danny and I were talking like 2 minutes after the movie was over. We were calling each other on the way home to talk about it and everything. And how cool would it be to see Finn and Poe take over the Han and Chewie roles in the movie series?
Yeah. Not sure how I feel about Poe Dameron. He's okay.
Yeah, he's not my favorite, but they just had this chemistry, and
Yeah.
They
I
seem
could
that they're
see-
building towards something.
yeah.
Yeah, you know what I don't like about Poe is he's so cocky. Like, he is, like, overly cocky.
I never make a mistake, and when I do, it's not my fault.
Yeah, that kind of
That was
guy.
Han. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's like Han Solo, yeah. I mean, Poe I thought was good. I agree with the chemistry with Finn. Worked really well. But beyond that, Poe was okay, but he was just a cocky hotshot pilot.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like Phasma, I got to see more of her, you know? It's just, I got to see more.
Where the hell is Wedge, by the way?
He decided to retire. He cashed in his stocks. He's now on a beach somewhere on this planet.
Yeah, like, no Wedge. Like, you'd think he'd be a commander or something.
Since we're talking about Poe, near the end, when this X-Wing's going around just tearing shit up, and then the guy's like, that's one hell of a pilot, and then it cuts to Poe all, wee! Didn't he seem like he could have been a character in The Waterboy in that scene?
Yeah.
He was like, "Rrrr."
Well, you know he wasn't even originally supposed to come back. He was supposed to die on Jakku.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then they decided to bring him back. Now they've got to go back and explain it because they didn't really explain it. But yeah, he was actually not supposed to be a permanent character. So, sort of interesting. What else you got, Murph?
Oh, well, let me see. We talked about Poe. We talked about Finn. We talked about Rey, Kylo, and then Kylo Ren. Was it Admiral or Commander Hux? You mentioned Mara Jade before. I think as an expanded universe fan, I probably would have liked to have seen Grand Admiral Thrawn. But that being said, Hux was okay as a villain. There was kind of a balance between him and Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren is no Darth Vader to keep the military under his thumb. So we got to see an Imperial or a First Order officer kind of stand up and talk shit to Kylo Ren. And, you know, they butted heads a few times. And Snoke kind of let each one do their own thing. But Hux was all right. He gave a good speech, you know, reminiscent of Hitler and the Nazis,
bit. Bit.
That was straight out of Journal of the Wills, you know, I mean, you know, and Mein Kampf. But,
Which is cool because the comparison has always been made since episodes 4 rather. The whole good guys versus bad guys, Americans versus Nazis, just kind of that idea
The
on
new
the
order.
characters. So
He was so young. Like, I feel like he's going to make some, like, super major mistakes coming
but
up.
you know what? The old-time officers have probably either died off or retired.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they
It
have.
probably is a young generation that's trying to rebuild the glory of the past. Kind of like, you know, I mean, kind of like the young officers in Japan, World War II, you know. They were the Eagles, you know, instead of the older established officers that wanted to go a different direction in the war. So I could see that. It makes sense that he's young.
Yeah, I feel like he is actually trying to be the counter to Kylo. Like, I feel like he's got some of the same internal tendencies as Kylo, like getting upset and throwing a fit and stuff like that. But he feels like he needs to put on that military front. He needs to maintain his bearing. And I just feel like he's got to snap eventually because Kylo's a moron.
He's got the discipline, but it's only going to go so far.
Yeah, eventually it's going to get to, because he's so young. He's
Right.
he's like in his 20s, maybe?
Yeah.
And he's a general?
right.
Like, he is the first one under Snoke, basically, because...
Which implies bloodline, too, because how else do you get to be a general when you're...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Lack of anybody older, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Well,
true.
then I'm also kind of interested now that Kylo's been cut up a little bit and Snoke's bringing him back to finish his training. How is he going to stand up to Kylo, and how is Kylo going to react to him now? Is Kylo going to be more like a Darth Vader and get choky on him if he tries to talk shit, or is he still going to let Hux, you know, stand up to him and argue with him or whatnot, or make him look bad in front of Snoke?
Yeah, I also want to see how fucked up Kylo
He's
is.
just going to say, you always yell at me. Fuck my life.
So are we going to see how fucked up he is, or are we
yeah.
just going to have him years later after the training and ready for the next battle kind of thing?
I don't think it'll be years later. I think that him killing Han was the second to the last step.
He has to have scars after this, either scars from killing Han or scars from his battle.
Oh, and can we talk for a second about
growth?
Can we talk for a second about how fucking weak the lightsabers were in this one?
Well, see, I liked it.
Well,
I like it.
He's not talking looks. He's talking damage.
No, I'm talking damage.
Oh.
Fucking
yeah.
Obi-Wan barely swung that lightsaber at that dude in the fucking Mos Eisley Cantina and chopped his goddamn arm off.
Yeah.
Fucking Rey and Finn got some good damn hits on Kylo. And
it's
just
like,
kind of, he's like,
I have a
ooh,
nick.
oh, jeez.
Oh, that kind of hurt a little bit.
That burnt. Man, that's going to blister. You know?
Ouch, is it bleeding? No, but it hurt though.
I thought it was really weird how weak the lightsabers were.
It's true, even when Finn's fighting the trooper with that, whatever you call it, weapon.
It just like bounces off of
It
him.
really shouldn't have been like a metal-to-metal sword fight. It really should have just went right through that thing,
Right.
whatever it was. It should
Yeah.
have demolished it.
Speaking of lightsabers, though, Kylo Ren's lightsaber is freaking awesome. I
Yeah.
love the Excalibur look of it, and I love how it's raw energy. It's not a tube with a light in it. It's got flares of whatever, and I don't know if that's his indecision or weakness in the Force, or I hope they explain what that is, new technology. But I love how it's not just this perfect beam; it's this raw energy, and I just love it.
It also kind of, I think, mirrors his personality, too.
Right.
He's not trained as a Jedi or a Sith, but he has power in the Force, and it's a raw energy that he has with his temper tantrums and all that.
Right.
It kind of, his lightsaber is a mirror of his personality, too.
So it's raw and unfinished, like he is, kind of thing.
So do you think it'll change in the next episode then?
Oh,
That'd
maybe.
be interesting.
Maybe.
Like it cleans up with him.
Maybe
That
as
would be cool.
maybe as opposed to looking like exhaust on the sides, it actually like curls up or something.
Exhaust.
He can like control it, you know. Looks more refined, more finished.
That would be cool.
Every time you see the one of them sneak an attack on the
Little
side.
slap.
So what else? Anybody? You got anything else, Murph?
The only ones to talk about. I mean, BB-8 I thought was a perfect successor to R2-D2.
Awesome.
Which,
I love
which
BB-8.
that's obvious. They nailed it with BB-8, where they kind of failed, I think, in the prequels with Jar Jar. BB-8 was funny without trying to seem like forced humor.
Yep.
All the humor in this movie went over very well without it appearing forced or they were trying too
Definitely.
hard. And BB was very great. Even when BB-8 did the thing with the lighter with his thumb up.
Yeah, that was so
awesome.
cool.
That was so cool.
It's cheesy, but it was so cool and it worked. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Sad
humor can be kind of hard to
BB-8
pull
is
off.
depressing.
Yeah, not as bad as Sad Chewie though.
Yeah, Sad Chewie was heartbreaking.
Luke, I know we're going to talk about that later. I have no opinion on him because there wasn't enough.
Right.
Snoke. I want to find out more about Snoke. Where the hell did this Snoke person come from? How did he get so powerful where he can even train a new order of dark Jedi? And would Palpatine, like me and Josh talked offline, would Palpatine have allowed such a person to exist under his empire? Who could be a threat to him? Or was Snoke in hiding? Or was he an inquisitor of Palpatine? I just don't know enough yet, but...
Was he Darth Plagueis?
Yeah, is he Darth Plagueis? You brought that up too. Maybe it is, and he's been hiding, out. I just don't know enough yet. But Snoke, I'm kind of interested in as well.
Speaking of the last scene in the movie, what did people feel when they saw Luke?
My impression was he turned around and it was like, shit. They found me, and that's my fucking lightsaber. How bad are things right now? It was just a weight of the world on his shoulders again. He's like, crap, this is why I escaped. And they found me to drag me back into this. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. That's just the impression I got.
I agree with John there to a point where it was even more sadness on his part. It's like, oh, are things that bad where I gotta, no, don't make me come out of my seclusion.
Right.
This is going to make me come out and do things again. It seems like he's now the reluctant hero, while in the original trilogy, he wanted to get into the action and be a great warrior. Now it seems like he doesn't want it anymore. And now it's almost sadness and, oh, how bad did things get? I mean, I'm guessing here, but I'm guessing Luke probably felt Han die in the Force.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So he probably had a feeling something was coming, and then they hand him his lightsaber, and I think it's a mixture of, oh shit, how bad are things, to almost sadness that he had to come out and do, and be active again.
Well, and he would have felt the Sunbuster or whatever the hell they called it, Star Killer or whatever it was.
Yeah.
He would have felt all of that, right?
Hell, Alderaan almost caused Obi-Wan to have an aneurysm. What would a whole solar system do to Luke,
Yeah.
Realistically, he should have even felt his lightsaber coming back.
Right. Being activated.
They're supposed to be connected. He should have known it was on its way. I definitely didn't see surprise in that. I mean, he wasn't like, holy crap, what are you doing here? I mean, he knew it was going on, but my big question is going to be how much of the next episode is going to be them convincing him to come be part of it again. Is it going to be like, all right, I've had enough, this is bad, we need to go get this stuff straightened out? Or is it going to be the first hour of the movie is pulling the Mr. Miyagi, I don't want to be part of this, go figure it out yourself kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, you brought up a good point, because I had read an interview with Abrams, and they had talked about bringing Luke in earlier in the movie. But every time they would bring in Luke earlier in the movie, in the script, he dominated the scene. It's like, Luke just takes over and cuts everyone up and, solves all the problems because he's a master. I'm like you. I'm curious on what his role is going to be in Episode 8. Is he going to be the guide like Yoda was and not fight, but be the mentor teacher? Because you can't really travel around fighting the First Order with Luke on your tail and have him not do anything,
Right.
It just,
Maybe
I'm just curious on what his role at Episode 8 is going to be.
Well, I mean, in the original expanded universe, Luke turned dark for a while. He was not Jedi; he was a Sith for a couple of years.
Dark Empire. Yeah.
Yeah, he was not a good guy for a while. I felt like Luke looked angry. I've said it before. He turns around and he's just got this scowl on his face. He just looks pissed. And I kept expecting him to just rip that lightsaber out of her hand and tell her to fuck off.
Thank you, now leave.
Yeah. That's mine. Peace out. I don't know. I felt like he was angry. My wife didn't get that impression. I know you guys didn't get that impression, but man, he just looked mad.
I think that whole ending scene, though, with him definitely leads up back to Rey being something very, very important, because they knew that she had to go alone. They knew that it had to be her. I mean, Chewie didn't even walk up the hill with her. He's like, you got this. Yeah. That wasn't him going, nah, it's a long ass mountain, I don't want to walk up there. There was a reason she did it by herself. Yeah. There was a reason she did it by herself. You know what I mean? It was something that was destined, I believe, but we just don't know what yet.
Yeah.
Or why.
Let me just say that my impression of it is, this is when I thought that maybe Rain was Skywalker's granddaughter, because when he took his hood off, or when he turned around and took his hood off, he had that same look as her, like. And I was laughing, I actually laughed at the end of the movie, because I was like, that has to be some kind of blood relation to him, because it was the same exact look of her expression
keep in mind,
the whole movie.
He hasn't done anything in 20 years or something, so it might be hard for him to nail the reaction that they wanted.
Yeah.
But, okay, I spoke on this in the last podcast. The reason that I was so excited about watching the movie opening night, and I don't know if you guys experienced it, but every single time that we saw the Millennium Falcon, or it got referenced, or Han and Chewie were behind the door, every time there was any reference to lore that I recognized or didn't, the whole theater fucking erupted.
Yeah,
and it was just, it just added so much to the experience. I mean, to know that you're in a theater with a bunch of people that definitely watched the originals.
Yeah, that
when
was
Han and
neat.
Chewie first walked in, it was the applause lasted so long it was almost to the point of annoying, because it was cutting into the story.
Well, yeah, when they walked in, we got that in our theater, but for the most part, they were very low key, because it was just a different atmosphere. They were serving dinner and stuff like that.
Hoity-toity.
Yeah, it was hoity-toity. Yeah.
Look,
That's
it's Chewie. I liked Chewie in the original from what I read on the internet.
Dude, it was the coolest experience. So we went in like an hour and a half before. We sat at the bar, had some drinks and some appetizers, like shot the shit with people around us who were really excited about seeing the movie and talking about our different theories and all that other stuff. And then we went in and we kind of sat by ourselves. It was 2 chairs right next to each other. The next 2 chairs were a little ways away, and we're eating our dinner and drinking our beer, and it was kind of nice. It was cool.
The one thing that this theater did that was kind of cool, especially for waiting in line, was they knew it was going to be big enough. They didn't show anything but Star Wars that day, so they shut the whole theater down at 2 o'clock. And so instead of waiting in line, they just let you go sit in your seat the whole time.
Nice.
So there was no standing in line outside of the theater because there was no other movies playing. You had to
That's
wait
brilliant.
for. We just literally went and sat down where we were going to sit for, the last 3 hours before the movie started.
Very
so
nice.
It was much better than standing in line in 12-degree weather that day.
Heck yeah.
Oh, and I got another question. Why didn't Han try the lightspeed trick to get at the Death Star?
See, I have
The
a
second
Lightspeed.
Death Star?
Why didn't he try the lightspeed trick to get at the Death Star?
Because they had to recruit the Ewoks to overthrow the Empire.
Oh, the critical Ewok platoon, right?
Yes.
My light speed question is when they're going in and all it took was for them to hit light speed to get through the shields, why did they have to take the damn shields down? All the X-Wings can
Just go light speed, yeah.
And if the Millennium Falcon can stop in time after breaking through the shield, the X-Wings damn
Should be
sure
able
can.
to.
Yeah.
And they're the
I got
sports car,
a
that's
bigger
the sedan.
question here. I got a bigger question here that this is something that really did not make sense to me. Why did it take Han Solo, at my estimated years is 20 years to track down the fucking Millennium Falcon and get it back? That's his hot rod. It got stolen from him, and it took him how many years? And he just stumbles across it by accident? The Han Solo I know would have been a bloodhound to get his ship back.
It's only got low jack. You have to be within like 200 miles from it to get the activation. So he had to accidentally find it.
Even worse
Man,
than that.
LoJack goes through hyperspace in the Star Wars universe, man.
I think it was one of those things. It's like his wife was like, you got the hot rod stolen now.
Minivan through space.
Yeah,
man.
now we need the minivan.
His hot rod. He's driving a minivan.
We got
It's a giant Prius, man.
Yeah, we got the insurance claim. Well, let's go buy the minivan. You forget about your vehicle that got stolen because we're getting the new one.
He even says at one point, if I can track it, they can. Well, you didn't track it.
They didn't track it worth shit.
Yeah.
No, it came to you, motherfucker.
He should say sometime in the next 30 years they're going to find us, so
Right.
we better hurry.
Man, it was on the planet below him and he didn't see it, man. It had to fly into his docking bay and be given back to him.
Well, that tarp that was partially covering it did just a real good job at concealing. Everybody in America could figure out what it was at first glance. But
Right. Not anybody else. Looks like a hunk of junk to me. Wait, no, that's the Falcon.
Wait, let's hide Rey on this planet and let's put the most famous starship from the Rebellion, the ship that blew up the Death
Yards
Star, the
from her
Enola
house.
Gay of the Star Wars universe. Let's just put it right next to Rey, okay? Because we want her to hide out so no one finds her. All right.
And they
But we want it to be there if she ever, is in a situation to need it.
Need it. Yeah.
They live in
This
a
ship
world
was
of...
instrumental in blowing up both Death Stars. It's been on the wanted list of the Empire. Yeah, but we'll just put a tarp over it. No one will find it.
There's actually a theory that it was given to that guy to watch her.
Okay.
The guy,
really?
yeah, the guy that because he was her steward.
Quarter portion.
Well, see, they're in a world of virtually unlimited technology. She knows what the Millennium Falcon is. She knows all the stories about it. She knows who and what Han Solo is. She knows who and what Luke is. But she's never seen a damn picture of none of it.
Right.
I mean, in a world of unlimited technology, the most famous ship that's ever existed.
There's no Snapchat?
Nobody has a photograph of the thing.
There's
No fucking
memes
comic
that's going
book?
around or something,
There had to be
and
movies
you
written
guys
about
saw Admiral Akbar? How many people in your theater went, "It's a trap"?
him. Yeah.
Did anyone do that?
No. Admiral
didn't
Akbar is the most useless goddamn character. They try to make him some kind of super fucking secret agent ninja assassin guy in the Aftermath book.
Akbar?
Yeah, he's supposed to be like some kind of fucking fighting badass in the Aftermath book. There's literally a scene where he is inside of a training room, like going all ninja on a bunch of guys' asses, kicking their ass.
Wow.
Akbar.
that's not
Yeah,
Akbar.
it's a trap, and only hope are words or phrases used so often, at least in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Because Leia said it too. Luke, it's a trap.
Oh, and I've
she
got a
said
bad
you're
feeling about
You're our
this.
only hope
Yep.
to just about everybody she spoke to.
And I've got a bad
Bad
feeling
feeling
about
about
this.
this.
Yep.
So we've been going about an hour. Do we have anything else we wanted to hit on?
I'm excited for the next one.
Me
Yeah,
too.
definitely.
Well, the next one's going to be the Rogue movie, Rogue One, which is about them stealing the Death Star plans, and then in
That'll
28.
hold us over.
What's that?
I said that'll hold us over until episode 8.
Yeah, and then
So it's
episode
not
8 will be
an official episode,
2017.
It's a side story.
It's a side story. That's what they're doing. They're doing an official episode every other year, and then in the off years they're doing a side story. So the first
I am
one,
fine with that.
Yep.
first one's going to be Rogue One, about them stealing the Death Star plans. The second side story is going to be Han Solo.
Possibly a Boba Fett Han Solo movie.
There's
but
there's
it's
two
nothing
confirmed.
concrete yet.
Yeah, there's two confirmed. One's Han, one's Boba. So it'll be one of those. Will be the second one. But anyway,
Will it be a Harrison Ford Han, or will it be a younger years Han that's played by somebody else?
it'll be a younger Han. I think
Yeah.
it's supposed to be his his growing up type thing.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think so. I think
What do
it'd be
you
cool.
What do you guys think? How much of a time frame is going to pass in their world between this episode and the next full episode? Are we talking? Like I said, are we going to pick up where we left off? Are we going to see Kylo Ren sitting there with bandages all over, trying to heal up from his lightsaber stabbings, or are we going to see him fully trained, fully healed, and we're talking 5 or 10 years down the road where this is the next wave of attack?
I'm guessing months. I'm guessing that it's going to be mid or near the end of his finishing training is when they're going to pick up, is my guess.
I feel
I'm gonna guess that it's probably going to be similar to the original trilogy, where there was supposed to be 3 years in between New Hope and Empire, and 6 months in between Empire and Jedi. So I'm gonna guess maybe a couple years, 3 years in between this, if they, because I'm guessing they're going to follow the pattern of the original trilogy.
Why
that would
wouldn't
make
they?
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like they're gonna. I feel like they're gonna pick it up with that scene.
Immediately.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, they would have to pick up at that scene to see.
Because
what-
there was nothing
That's
said.
very true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel
That's
like.
true.
But they might pick up with
Back
that
to the
scene
Future.
and then jump.
Oh yeah, I think they may
Yeah.
progress a couple of years very fast, but I feel like
They
They will pick up with that scene.
Yes, they
Or
have to.
it could totally be flashback stuff. They could pick up in the middle of combat somewhere, and then they start flashing back to how they got there.
Right.
Tons
Yeah.
of movies
Or they
done
could
that.
pick up where Rey is in the process of being trained by Luke, and then they'll fill
Oh.
you in through dialogue through the rest of the movie on
So
what
even
happened.
further back than the beginning of this said movie.
yeah, could be.
That'd be kind of cool.
All right, cool. Well, I guess that's the end of our spoiler cast for Star Wars. We want to thank you for tuning in. We love Star Wars. Can't wait for the next one to come out. We've got one more thing to record tonight. That'll be a separate episode. We got the Samsung Gear VR. So Danny and Helen haven't tried it at all yet, so they're gonna try it for the first time right here in front of the camera for us.
Little spoiler. It's awesome.
It's pretty cool. But anyway, that's all we got for tonight. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you in the next year on January the 9th for our next episode.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Happy New Year, guys.
Peace out.